Bachman's Basement is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show.
Welcome back to Bachman's Basement, the show where we creep down into the corners of Stephen King's mind, especially the ones that rattle, hum, and refuse to die. Tonight, we're taking on one of King's eeriest stories, The Monkey. This one's a classic slice of short-form King. No sprawling world, no huge ensemble, just a simple idea that turns deadly fast. A toy monkey that bangs its cymbals, and every time it does, someone dies. It first appeared in Gallery magazine in 1980 and later became part of the Skeleton Crew in 1985. For decades, readers called it one of King's most haunting domestic horrors. And after 40 plus years sitting in the attic, The Monkey has finally found its way onto the silver screen. Directed by Osgood Perkins and produced by James Wan, the 2025 film adaptation breathes new life into King's cursed toy and in true modern fashion makes a lot of bold changes along the way. So tonight, we're going to break it all down, what makes the original story work, what the movie adds, and/or changes, where they're connected, and what each version has to say about fear, fate, and the things that we try to bury. I'm your host, Christopher Patton, and as always, I'm joined by my wonderful co-host who just had to sit through that long intro. I apologize, Christopher Clawson. How are you doing, buddy?
Doing well. Happy to be here. Excited to talk about this story.
Yeah, so we started down the route of going through each Bachman book in order, and that just seemed kind of boring. So we're throwing a wrench in the plan, I guess.
Yeah, I think that it's a good idea that we just kind of mix it up, keep you guys guessing where we're going next. You'll get the idea. We're just gonna go wherever the heart leads us.
Whichever corner of the basement we bump into after a long night of drinking. No, I'm all joking aside. What have you been up to, man? What's going on in your life? What have you been playing? What have you been watching? How's the fam? All of that good stuff.
Family's really good. We just got back from our yearly trek down to Sacramento to Aftershock Festival. That was a lot of fun with family and friends down there, and saw a lot of great music, and then getting back into the swing of regular life, back to playing my suite of games that I play, like Marvel Rivals, Fortnite, Apex Legends. Those are I'm all about the live service games, I guess. My son likes to make fun of me for it.
And we actually did get a play this weekend, which is a rarity with the way our schedules have been working out. But we did get to play some Fortnite. Played a little bit of that new game mode with you. It was all right. It was okay. I always enjoy playing Fortnite with you. I don't know that it's a game I would ever go off and play by myself. But yeah, man. How's Marvel? What have they introduced? Who are the new characters?
The newest character just came out, Daredevil. So, but it's like a different version of him than the original. It's still Matt Murdock, but I don't know how he's different. I'm not as invested into what's different, but cool character. I haven't really got a chance to play him too much, being that it seems like everybody wants to play the new character, so I just kind of let people do that for a while.
Isn't that just always the problem with things like Overwatch or Marvel or a lot of these games? You get like a new operator. I guess even Rainbow Six Siege, you get a new operator. You're on a waiting list to play it until other people get tired of it if you don't like losing.
Right. Yep, that's exactly it. So then you just, you can go into the practice range and kind of get a feel for the character, and then wait your turn.
So for Aftershock, what was the highlights? What's some of the best bands you saw there?
Man, there's so many good ones. For me, 3 Days Grace, Hollywood Undead, Dream Theater was a big highlight for me. This band Glory Hammer was freaking amazing. They were so good, short and sweet. They were early in the day. Oh man, I mean, there was so many, and then I'm gonna leave some out and feel bad about it. So I'm just gonna stop there. But that's just a few of the highlights of my favorites. Good Charlotte. There's one more that I was really excited about.
Oh wow, that'd be an interesting show to see. I when I think of Good Charlotte, I think of like 2004.
Right.
And
yeah.
I know they've
and
put out a lot of music since then that people really enjoy, but
I didn't know what to expect either, but man, they put on a killer show. They actually halfway through the show, if you follow the type of music, rock music, then you might be aware that Sum 41 just recently retired. But halfway through this Good Charlotte performance, they brought out Derek Wembley and played two of Sum 41's biggest hit songs with Derek on stage, and it was really exciting. So that was a little fun thing that made that particular performance, getting to see Good Charlotte and then not knowing, but getting to see a little bit of Sum 41 come to life as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, just thinking about that, that's the lead singer of Sum 41, right? Just so I'm in my bag.
Yes.
Okay, so I know that he had such a drinking problem that they basically told him that if he ever had another sip of alcohol, he could potentially die.
That
recall.
Might be the case. I know that Sum 41 was still going strong, and they actually only recently retired. Like last year, they announced that they were going on their final tour. So he looked healthy, but I don't know. I think some bands just go, we don't want to go, whatever, and just keep doing this till we're just stupid old and look stupid up here.
Yeah,
So,
I know that it didn't have anything to do with that band retiring. I just remember hearing about that, and he's been sober for quite a while. But that was something I think of Ultimate Guitar World or something. I had an interview with him about it a while back. But it's an interesting story, an interesting tale from Sum 41, who definitely comes off as a party band.
For sure, yeah, and that's the thing. It's like I hadn't heard that, but it's not a big surprise, especially in rock music. That's pretty popular. Drugs and alcohol are just kind of come with the territory.
There's so many of those bands that I kind of mix up in my mind. I'm trying to remember if he also dated Avril Lavigne at one time. I'm pretty sure that was a thing as well.
I might have heard that. Yeah, I think you're right. That sounds about right.
So for me, the things I've been watching Ed Gein, the Ed Gein story, Monster, the Ed Gein story. I'm on episode 3. Man, it's really hard to get past the accent.
I watched the first 5 minutes of it. I turned it on after you mentioned that the other day in chat. And I agree. Like, I'm really having a hard time with that kind of quiet, high-pitched voice. It almost sounds like a kid.
It was an interesting choice because he's not. So there are interviews with Ed Gein, and his voice sounds absolutely nothing like that. So it's more of just a character choice of what you would, just knowing who Ed Gein is, what you think his voice would sound like. The highlights would be, and I always can't think of the name of the actress, but the actress that plays his mother is Jackie from Roseanne. Also Sheldon's mom from The Big Bang Theory. You want to throw that in the mix here as well.
Right.
She's great. Like, so I stuck with the first 2 episodes, realizing that at some point she's gonna be dead, and that's kind of where I've gotten with it. It did not stick with me. Outside of that, man, playing just older games. I've been playing Pokemon Radical Red, which is a ROM hack of Pokemon. I kind of talked about it on the Patton report. Shameless plug there. As one of the ROMs that they're pretty fun. It's kind of cool. It's got a randomizer, so it changes every it has every Pokemon in the game, so it randomizes how you start out, what's available to you. It also randomizes everything on the route. So playing through that a little bit, and then I played some Fortnite with you, and that was kind of it. The rest of the week was spent doing the various podcasts and fighting libs in Spotify, which is a different story for a different day. But
Adulting is hard.
Yeah, adulting is hard. I guess we'll get into this. I'll give kind of a brief book overview. If there's anything hit on that you disagree with, let me know. But we'll go through the book first a little bit for anyone out there that hasn't read it. I will say I probably am going to hit a little bit of spoilers here, so be ready for that. The Monkey opens with Hal Shelburne, Shelbum, right?
I think it's Shelburne.
Shelburne. Okay. Yes. I thought, okay. My notes are just, I just spelled wrong here. Let's go with that. Fuck it. We'll do it live. The Monkey opens up with Hal Shelburne, an ordinary man cleaning out his attic. Amongst the dust and old boxes, he finds something that he should have stayed buried. A small brass-eyed toy monkey with a cracked grin and tiny symbols. As a child, Hal believed this toy was responsible for a string of mysterious deaths in his family. Every time it clapped its symbols together, someone close to him would die. His father supposedly got rid of it years ago, dropped it down a well to keep his family safe. But like every object in King's World, evil doesn't stay gone. It waits. Once the monkey resurfaces, the death begins again. At first, it seems like a coincidence, a fish, a neighbor, a distant relative. But then the pattern tightens. The sound of the symbols becomes an omen, a heartbeat, a countdown. King never explains why or how the monkey kills. That's part of the power of the story. The horror isn't in the mechanics, it's in the certainty. The reader understands that when the toy starts to move, death is coming. Small claustrophobic toy that perfectly captures King's gift for turning the ordinary into the unbearable. A cheap wound up toy becomes a symbol of an inevitability, family trauma passed down from one generation to the next. You can throw it away, drown it, bury it, but it always finds its way back. The story ends with Hal dumping the monkey into the deepest part of the lake, thinking he had finally destroyed it. But in the final moments, years later, fishermen haul it back up. The curse continues, the cycle restarts. It's the literary equivalent of the final symbol crash echoing in the darkness. At its core, the monkey isn't just about a haunted object. It's about memory, guilt, and the fear that some evils can't be explained, only survived. Now that the overview is over, let's talk about the short story itself. When's the first time you read it, Chris? Is there anything I just went over that you disagree with? How does it feel to you?
Yeah, I mean, like at the end, so I just recently reread it, or I guess I recently re-listened to it through an Audible version of it. But the ending with Hal out on the lake and his son on the shore, and he's, recalling this fishing with his father when he was a kid, and that he asked his dad why they never went to the middle of the lake to fish. And he's like, oh, it's really deep there, and most of the fish are in the more shallow areas. So, he gets the idea to dump the monkey there. He does it, but there's like that. It's like the power of evil trying to stop him, and that huge storm starts, and the boat is falling apart as he's like paddling his way back to shore. And then that final sort of bit, and I think it's something that King has done successfully in other novels like Carrie, where it's just like this little newspaper story talking about scientists are puzzled. All of these fish, all of these different species of fish suddenly are dead in this lake, and it's like, I thought that was a cool way to end it, where it's like the monkey, has this power, but it is tied to its proximity. But yeah, I don't disagree with anything that you're saying in the book overview. I just think I thought it was, the monkey doesn't come back at the end, but you see the effect.
Right. So with the monkey, right, the question's always been, what is the origin of the monkey? Where did the monkey come from? The lore. And you get into kind of the deep dive of Stephen King with some novels that we haven't touched yet. being that it is from, interdimensional space. It's from a different world, a different universe, however we want to put it. Something that can only exist as a thin. What does he call it? The thinnies.
Thinnies are just like places where reality between two realities. It's there's a connection and you can step through, but so things can come through.
Which I kind of like that take better than how the movie almost, which we're going to get into the movie as well, but the movie almost gets more into that it's possessed or demonic to some extent.
I don't think that the short story really iterates on that it's necessarily certainly like you even say in that synopsis, that it's not necessarily clear how the monkey's doing what it's doing. And maybe it has a bit to do with just the certainty of the possessor, the person who is holding that thing, realizing that they're making that connection, superstition, certainly a lot of allegories that can be drawn from the story about like family trauma, generational trauma, as well as superstition.
Yeah, it's interesting with that idea in mind because this is put into the Skeleton Crew, which I think is where that starts to drum up that it's interdimensional with the thinnies because, coming through time, space, however we want to put it, is because the mist is also part of the Skeleton Crew. Am I correct on that?
Well, I mean, the story of the mist might be in, let me look, but yeah, it never mentions that this monkey, this toy, is possessed by an interdimensional being, although that could very well.
Yeah, it's never directly mentioned. The book doesn't really, the book doesn't ever really nail it down, or the movie doesn't really ever nail it down either, but it does kind of give you some different ideas that you could roll with, because I think that's kind of necessary for the film. The book never goes into detail about it at all. It just exists, and that's kind of what's so haunting about it. But if you're looking at it from the world of Stephen King, and this is something that's discussed to death on Reddit and other various places, so if anyone wants to read into it more, there's tons and tons out there. I was just curious your take on it. Because it is Stephen King, so a lot of things cross over in his world, and the monkey very much could show up somewhere else later down the line that we're not expecting.
I think that's really cool. That's a cool idea there. I don't know just from my having read everything, but again, there's so much. King has produced so much content and so much overlap. I don't recall it ever being overlap with the short story into another story, even into the Dark Tower, or any of his other stories. But I'm not against it either. I think that's really cool. If he ever did, or if somebody out there knows better than me, I'm not claiming to know. I've read it all. But I mean, I'm just a guy that's read a bunch of books, and
well, I mean, that's why we're bringing it up, right? Like, it's a talking point. Let's talk about it. Let's see where it goes.
Right.
I mean, definitely, like when we get into the Dark Tower, there's going to be a lot of this. So, in Stephen King's world, in the basement here with us, down in the basement,
yeah,
these things exist. So it's not far fetched. I personally, when I, as I started going through these notes and looking at what other people had to say about the monkey and how they felt about the movie versus the book, that is one thing that kept coming up is what is the origin of the monkey? Where did the monkey come from? What is the origin? So there's one that sits with you, but that's kind of what you're looking for, right? Like that's what makes it great. I think if you get the answer, does it even matter? Like, I think it takes away some of the spookiness.
Exactly. It's the not knowing. It's sort of like like let's say Michael Myers, it's a lot scarier if you never see what's under the mask, so just knowing that there's some deeply evil whatever, whether that be a spirit or interdimensional, being, whatever it is, it's terrifying. So it's better not to know. And it's like that, Stephen King, I've heard him say it time and again in interviews where he's talking about like what scares him is just the mundane things, like when he turns out the light at night and gets under the covers, and then he thinks about, but did I check the closet? And just not knowing what's in there, and then his imagination runs wild. So, I mean, that's, I think, a common experience amongst everybody. So,
yeah, it's like when you watch Psycho for the first time, and then you just have like this endless fear about making sure you keep the shower curtain a little apart.
Right.
No, I kind of lean towards I don't care where it comes from. I just thought it would be we should bring it up. I don't know who's out there listening, but someone would be like, "Oh, they're not going to talk about the origin of the monkey." We talked about it. There it is. It's
yeah.
We personally don't care.
something that we are not recalling, or more than likely that it's meant to be unclear, so that it's scarier.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much not talked about in the book. It's at all.
Right.
We don't even want to call it a book. We'll just a short story.
The
movie does give you. So there are some key differences between the monkey in the movie and the book, and we'll get into that. I guess I should hit the movie overview.
Sure.
Real quick. Directed by Osgood Perkins and produced by James Wan, the adaptation expands the short story into a full-length feature. Perkins takes King's lean domestic nightmare and turns it into something more sprawling, emotional, and cinematic. A generational story about family, guilt, and fate. In the film, Hal Shelburne, played by Theo James, who I thought did a really good job, by the way.
Agreed. Yeah.
And his twin brother, Bill, which Bill's character is going to be so fun to talk about because he's completely unhinged, discover the monkey as children. Their father, tormented by its curse, disappears under mysterious circumstances. Years later, as adults, the brothers reunite when the toy resurfaces, and once again, death follows wherever the monkey beats its tiny drum. Yes, drum. We'll get into that. I'm not going to go into the deep rant that I had here about it. It's a practical change. Apparently had something to do with license, but it also changes the texture of the horror, with a drum beat kind of being more like a heartbeat. They played into that into the movie. The film introduces a key new rule: whoever winds the monkey is safe, while someone else nearby will die. It's a grim supernatural exchange, a perverse bargain that forces the characters to choose between their own survival and the lives of others. Perkins also adds more of a visual flair and mythology. So basically more of a backstory behind the monkey, which we already talked about. The deaths are larger and more elaborate, less random, more cinematic. That's kind of the synopsis of it. It's the same story. It's the same story with some key differences. The biggest being the monkey itself.
I would say that, I mean, obviously some key changes, not even just the monkey with the drum versus the cymbals, but I'm going to go out and say, I think that I actually like the movie adaptation better than the short story. Osgood Perkins just takes that source material and finds a way to just make something scary, but also just funny, like deeply funny.
Funny in the same sense of like the original Final Destination, right? Like that's the vibe that they go with this, as opposed to what the short story is doing.
Right. I was thinking, because again, just re-listened and watched the movie this last week, and that movie is like, it's kind of got a feel of almost like a Coen Brothers film, where it's like quirky and eccentric, and then certainly elements of Final Destination, just for the deaths coming without an actual killer. It's just the proverbial death. And obviously, as you mentioned in the synopsis of the movie, there's even an actual visualization of the Pale Rider. like towards the end of the film. So, I mean, the end of the film is very different, not to even like, don't even really need to talk about it, but it's very different from the end of the book. But it's still sort of a story of a father and son coming to understand each other.
Yeah, it's, I really, really enjoyed this adaptation because I think it did enough different. It was short enough. It's I think it could stand alone. If the short story didn't exist, this would stand alone as a really fun flick, which I think showed in the box office, right? Like this movie absolutely killed in the box office. I think that was very unexpected for everyone involved in it.
Right. I wasn't sure how, because I remember when the trailers came out for it, and I was like, oh, I got the sense. And this is one of those, sometimes I get upset at trailers because they share too much. But this just gave you the tone, which was that this isn't going to be just straight ahead horror. There is going to be a little tongue in cheek comedy going on here too, which really, really works for the source material, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I love the take that they, almost more than The Long Walk, which was our last episode. I think I actually like this adaptation a little better because it's doing enough the same but enough differently that makes it kind of interesting for something that is so short. Whereas A Long Walk, you kind of have the opposite problem where the film has to make changes because it's a film and not a book. And there's too many characters. And this one, because I think they picked a perfect thing to do an adaptation for, because you don't have to explain hundreds of characters or a big sprawling universe. Like I talked about at the beginning, in some of the reasons I think people really like this is that it's so domestic. It's so set within like a total of like 15 actual characters, really. And most of them, it's mostly the family. Everything else is kind of ancillary to the rest of the book, the short story or the movie. But yeah, I love the take on it. I also love kind of like Bill is definitely not as unhinged in the short story as he is in this movie, and it is a great horror character. Like it's incredible.
That's exactly the biggest difference between the short story and the movie is how much more eccentric all the characters are. And just like the list goes on and on. There's so many characters that are so weirdly fun but strange, versus in the story, the way that King writes, they feel like real people that you've brushed shoulders with before. So they have eccentricities, but they're not like, I don't know what the word to use here, but they're not just like, they're not out of a Coen Brothers film is my easiest way to describe it.
The short story is definitely, they're not characters, whereas like the movie itself, like outside of the main character, every other character is does have a little bit of a comedy aspect to them. And some different tie-in. Bill being the most, wearing the same suit from a funeral as a child into his adulthood, and living in this, basically living in the Bachman's basement we describe, which is just a bunch of CRT TVs and booby traps. I don't know. There's a lot that's fun about it, and it was so good to hear that Stephen King liked it.
It's over the top versus in the book or the short story. It's not so over the top. It's just more like dread and terror, and people die, and and you're just like, oh, that's awful, and the way that traumatizes. Whereas like the movie, it's more just like really over the top, not just the characters, but the deaths themselves as well.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the big things, I guess, one of the key differences is in the movie that there is the aspect of turning the key does something different, whereas in the novel, it's just the presence of the monkey being around, and it just goes off when it wants to go off, which is kind of funny because like the movie does more of the Pell Rider, it could be death type thing, but like in the novel, it actually plays off more like it's just death. It chooses when people die. Or in the short story. I keep saying novel because it's hard to get that out of your head, but you get what I'm saying.
in the story, that the written work is certainly it's exactly that. It's a short story, short and sweet, and there's a lot less worry about some of these details.
And the key is not always turned when people die in the movie either, which plays a little different. But they do like that. I guess that would be like a plot hole more than anything else. But in this movie, it doesn't really matter. I don't think that hopefully no one will try to do a sequel of The Monkey. That would be terrible.
Right.
But as a standalone thing, it's great. Like it's one of the best things I've seen this year.
Yeah, I think that blend of comedy and horror was done to perfection. I did not expect Osgood Perkins to pull that off in that way, and I'm very happy he did.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that really stands out, the difference between the two. Really, I mean, those are the key. The rest of it, I mean, outside of the movie the movie has group murders unrelated to the main characters at all. Just
one of the
chance of the monkey being there, but some of that is where I tie it into more of like Final Destination. And those are comedic and great in their own way. There's a great scene, and I don't want to spoil it, like talk it through completely. But the hotel room scene with the monkey is great when he walks outside, and you kind of get this like it's almost the scene from National Lampoon's Vacation where there's a hot girl in the pool.
Yeah.
And he's like mean mugging her, and she's looking back at him like, come here, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, that is I think it'll go down as just sort of a classic moment, in this whatever genre of horror you want to put this in. But one of the big differences, just because it's just popped into my head, between the short story and the movie is that Hal is specifically avoiding being a father to the detriment of his son, causing trauma by being absent. And that's not the case in the short story. So that's sort of something that's played with there in the movie.
Yeah. I almost forgot about that. And it does make for an interesting, it's like Dad's Weekend, but he has to go deal with this family stuff, and this family stuff involves the monkey, and that in itself is kind of a fun plot line.
Yeah, it's like he sees his kid once a year in this story, in the movie iteration. And I mean, he's not even bothering to like make up a reason. So his son just thinks that he's like doesn't like him, or doesn't love him, and is like, yeah. So there's that throughout the whole movie, and it's like he's afraid to tell his son much of anything because he doesn't want to draw him into this horrendous plot that he's become sort of a slave to this monkey.
Yeah. So I guess that kind of leads us to without going into, I had themes and discussions, and if there's anything that we've already missed on, but I mean, it's pretty much just both are playing off of the fear of the unknown and like repetition, horror, guilt.
Yeah. I mean, family trauma, generational trauma, that is certainly on full display in both the short story and the film. You see that. Obviously, that's the biggest reason why he's avoiding his son, is for fear that he will pass on this horrible burden to his child. And really, what you learn in this story is that by not being a father, he's burdening his son. So that
I almost wish they would have went a little further in the film with the key turn and why the key would be turned with some of the characters, because it's almost like a cost of a transaction, right? Like,
sure,
the way that they start that out, like they could have very easily, and they played into it a little bit with Bill wanting to get the possession of the monkey back. Like he had plans for evil. Like, I'm going to spend this at direct my anger towards someone, and I know it's going to affect me in some form or fashion, but I don't have any close family at all at this point anyways, right? Like as a way to take over the world almost.
Right.
Which would have been a very interesting way to take that film. And maybe they do. Maybe that happens. Maybe they do a sequel and it gets really weird like that. But that is very different than the short story.
Yeah, obviously I'm be remiss not to mention one death scene that just came to mind, and I'm like, my wife, it's her favorite. She loves to talk about it when this movie comes up, with where he's going through his recently deceased aunt, who he had been raised by, house with the realtor, and they get to the room and she's trying to open the closet and gets it open, and then there's a shotgun in there just propped up, and then it falls forward. He's like, no, and then she just gets shot, and then right behind the shotgun on the wall is this like crocheted little, in a frame, it says, "Guns don't kill people, people kill people," and it's just perfect. I mean, just so great.
There's also a great group of cheerleader death scene in this.
I mean, it's a movie worth watching. Obviously, if you're listening to us talk about this, then you're a fan of Stephen King. Check out the movie if you haven't already. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to have to hit one eventually where we hate the movie, because the last two, we both enjoyed it. Though there was more nitpicky things about The Long Walk, just by when you're talking about, a almost a full book, a full novel with the amount of characters A Long Walk has, and versus what the movie did versus what this is. Like, I could almost see you could give this to 10 different directors and writers and get 10 different movies, and they could all be good depending on what route they took.
Yeah. I mean, that's the fun of a short story too, is that there's themes usually, with stories anyway. And, but there's enough ambiguity there that you can kind of, go and make it your own. And man, this was a good one. There are certainly plenty of Stephen King films that don't hit the mark, that I'm sure we will cover and talk about it in the future. But yeah.
So, I mean, that's pretty much all I have. Chris, you got anything else you want to say to the good people?
Not necessarily on this subject. So, yeah, just check this one out. Check out the short story. It's in Skeleton Crew. It's the easiest place to find that one. And the movie, obviously, it's streaming somewhere, or you can buy it. So check it out. That one's worth your time.
Yeah, I believe last time I checked it was on HBO Max. I could be wrong. Also, if you're a pirate, sell the 7 Seas by all means. The short story is available on Internet Archive, which I've been hyping a lot, but Internet Archive. And also you can buy the Skeleton Crew, released in 1985, which also includes, I'm pretty sure it includes The Mist.
I just looked and it doesn't, but it has a bunch of other classics in there that we will get around to talking about at one point or another, that some of those have not been made into films or television, that really I hope that they do get made, because won't even go into it here, but there's some good ones there. So
yeah, so definitely we got. If you want a copy of this to read, the Skeleton Crew is probably the easiest place to get it, unless you want to start collecting magazines, which by all means do. It's fun. Go down the route of collecting gallery magazines from 1985. You can do this in full print. It's probably one of their more expensive copies, I would think. But yeah, that's all I have. I hope everyone has a great weekend. And yeah, until time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess if you hear a faint drumming tonight, maybe let it play itself out. Don't wind it up again.